Hey class, this is a kind of a short podcast where I'll talk about the midterm two, the study guide. I posted one of the things I'll point out about the study guide is that anything that I bold or I put asterisk by, that's something you should know definitely in the sense that there's almost no doubt that you'll see a question about that on the midterm. Now, you'll see I didn't bold everything because it'd be kind of worthless to bold everything. So do know the material on the study guide. But when I'm drawing up the questions for the midterms, definitely stuff that I bold and I put asterisks by, it's hard for me to say that word. You will 100% see that on the midterm. Remember, you can use a 3x5 index card front and back for material that you just have a hard time remembering, like say the law of April 6, 1830, or just some basic facts that you just can't keep in your head. You don't find it that interesting. You just need to know it for the test, and then you'll dump it out of your mind after that. So the index card is really worth doing because not only will you have it available when the test is being given, and these are timed tests, and you'll have it ready access to it, but just the mere fact of writing it on an index card helps you remember it. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. Like I say, be aware that the things that I bold to put an asterisk by, you'll almost certainly see it on the midterm. It's what I see as important. I'll put an asterisk by this right now. Yeah, it's kind of a balance because if I bold everything, it's kind of worthless. I want to talk about the Mexican-American War documentary a little bit. It has a lot of material that you won't be tested on. So let me tell you what you'll be tested on. The big fight in the Mexican-American War, remember the Mexican-American War happens after Texas comes into the United States. And it is in result a part of Texas coming into the United States. It's annexed into the United States. So it becomes a state in the Union 9 years after it becomes an independent republic. Remember, Texas becomes a republic by accident. Most Texans would have become a state in 1836 if they'd had the choice, but the U.S. wasn't ready to let the U.S. Or let Texas into the Union yet. Anyway, so the war begins in part because Mexico is very angry that the U.S. has annexed Texas. Mexico always wanted and hoped that it would get Texas back, but once Texas becomes a state in the Union, that's going to be impossible. And the other thing is that the president, and I think the movie makes a really, the documentary makes a really good point about this. James K. Polk has been the man elected president of the United States, just barely, but he wins. And he wants to expand the size of the United States. For Texas history, he wants to expand the size of the United States. He wants the Rio Grande River to be the border of Texas, not the Nueces. So he wants that area between the Rio Grande and the Nueces to become part of Texas. Remember, it was always very disputed, but it's clear that in the Spanish and Mexican period, the southern border of Texas was the Nueces, not the Rio Grande. And Polk wants to change that. But Polk is looking for bigger game. By provoking a war with Mexico, and this is significant, Polk does provoke a war with Mexico, okay? He wants a war with Mexico. He tried to buy Mexican land from the Mexican government, and they refused. So Polk wants a war. So he wants the strip between the Nueces and the Rio Grande. But maybe more importantly, he wants California, New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado. One of the things that you'll be tested on is that the U.S. captures 55% of Mexico between 1840 and 1850. So the Mexican-American War is partially about the southern border of Texas, but it's about much more than that. It's about California, New Mexico, Arizona, all that huge land, which is now the US, that huge area of land, which was once Mexico. So as you're listening to the podcast, focus more intensely on the parts that have to do with Texas, including kind of Polk's strategy in Texas, his sending an army into Texas, into the Corpus Christi area, him trying to provoke a war with Mexico, the army marching towards the Rio Grande, the Battle of Palo Alto, which commences the war, and also the Battle of Monterrey, Mexico, which is a U.S. victory. Now, don't get too wrapped up in the capture of New Mexico, the capture of California. I won't test you on that. That's not really Texas history. The other thing is that you don't have to get. I'm not going to test you on the intricacies of the battles that are fought in the Mexican-American War. That would just be too cruel. It's just too much information. So I'm especially interested in the Texas parts of it. The war begins in Texas, but it has ramifications that go far beyond Texas. I do, in the campaign to capture Mexico City, I do want you to know the fate of the Irish Catholic soldiers, the St. Patrick Brigade, the San Patricios, what happens to them, a very interesting and tragic story. And also the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which you will 100% be tested on, which is the treaty that creates the border between, it creates the Rio Grande as the southern border of the United States and Texas, and it creates the border generally between Mexico and the United States. So I want you to know what the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo is, and you'll see that on the test. Again, don't get lost in the intricacies of the battles and the other aspects of the Mexican-American War that really don't have to do with Texas. You won't be tested on those. Now, on the reading, I'm basically going to test you only on the Gwynn reading. And the short reading, the Indian and the paintbrush chapter, which is a PDF, which is in one of the modules that I posted. I can't remember which one, but you should be able to find it in your modules. The Gwynn reading, though, is the thing. In other words, I'm not going to test you on Remember the Alamo. Basically, a lot of the material in Remember the Alamo is in my podcast as well. Remember the Alamo, I have to say, is a very good review, though, for the Texas Revolution. It's a quick and readable review, and it actually might help you understand what's going on, especially the parts on the Texas Revolution. But I'll test you more heavily on Gwynn. What I've done in the review here is, once again, I picked out the material from the Gwynn chapters that I think is significant. And so you have a sense of what you'll be tested on for the midterm. Again, there's so much detail in Gwynn that I could really drive you crazy with testing you on that. So what I do in this review is I pull out what I think is significant from Gwynn, and more importantly to you, what you'll be tested on in the Gwynn reading. And this way, when you go back to look at Gwynn, you have a sense of what it is I'm looking for, and also what it is I'm not looking for. So you just don't have too much information floating around in your head. If you have any questions about the study guide, please reach out to me. Any specifics you have any questions on, please reach out to me. I'll post it on Tuesday, which is, oh gosh, what's Tuesday? It is the 5th, and you'll have until probably Friday to take it. And my hope and expectation is, with the study guide I've just posted, you'll have a sense of what it is I'm looking for in the test without you drowning in too much historical details and facts.